Well, let's take a look at what we are watching with the weather forecast for the week ahead. Joining us now with Nutrient Ag Solutions, Eric Snodgrass is with us. Eric, good to catch up with you, my friend. And looks like we both got home safely from Denver at Commodity Classic. I know a few folks got stuck out there with all the wind and the winter weather and more. It was a pretty eventful week last week across the country, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's gosh, it feels like so long ago, but yeah, let's see. A week ago tomorrow, they were having a blizzard in Des Moines, right? I mean, it was just incredible the amount of snow that came through, and just the rain. By the way, that rain was about perfect for folks that got it. It was about perfect. What I'm talking about,
Mhm.
like parts of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, even Wisconsin picked up some. Missouri got hit. These were all areas that we had seen such a dry winter that this moisture was much, much needed. And then over the weekend, we saw a system sneak out through parts of like the panhandles into the Red River Valley. I got a message from a guy down there. He's in southwestern Oklahoma. He's like, this was like the perfect event. It was all rain. The snow was to our west. We got an inch and a quarter. And I mean, he was just blown away by it. And I said, hey, that's good because to the south of you, all I watched last week were massive dust and sandstorms. I mean, they were that close to that drought issue that's still lingering in that area. But Jesse, it's kind of funny that storm system. Me as a meteorologist working in ag, like with open arms, welcome these things. Now, do
Mhm.
they bring in terribly windy conditions? Do they bring in, blizzards north, severe weather south, heavy rains east? Yeah, all of that. But if you want me to stop talking about drought, we are going to have two by the end of this week. So the one we had last week, one at the end of this week. I'd still need, I'd say I need four more by the time we get into early April in order for me to just not have to worry about drought at all to start this season. So there it is. It's kind of funny. We have a love-hate relationship with these storm systems. They're incredibly powerful and destructive at times. They really going to be a nasty set of wildfire conditions down in the southwest corner of parts of Texas, getting into Mexico and then New Mexico. But my goodness, outside of that, this is kind of what the doctor ordered to get this pattern jump started again.
Let's talk about this week, and I think it's going to be the tale of the start of the week and the end of the week. Let's start with the beginning. I know fire risk, you mentioned that. We got high winds, warm temperatures. So, talk about the early week setup and how that's going to segue us into the end of the week, Eric.
Yeah, so just something to remember. If it is February, March, or early April, and you're in the central US and the temperatures start going up in the 60s and 70s, it is going to be windy. Like there's just no doubt about it. We're going to get really, really windy here. And on top of that, that's the destabilization of the atmosphere that needs to happen in order for us to get, this system cranking through the midsection of the country. And so all week long, the narrative is going to be waiting on this deep wave to come from the Western United States, rip off over the top of the Rocky Mountains. And in my latest analysis, I'll be honest with you, it's nearly textbook in its shape in terms of creating a low pressure system. And that's going to be coming through very, very end of this week. And it'll have a severe weather segment to its south. It'll have to its north the risk of strong winds and a blizzard. And to its east, again, very, very heavy rainfall. And so this will be number two in my wish list of six of these things or seven of these things just to completely wipe out any sort of risk on drought. But there's a problem with it, Jesse. And the problem is the dry slot back in New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado is sizable. It's big. And that means we're going to have this area that's kind of blowing dust and blowing sand. And it's going to be also a big fire risk. So by the time we get to the end of this week, Friday into Saturday, be prepared for another very, very large system that's going to rip through the middle part of the United States. And as it does so, could be really problematic for many of us that are trying to think about how this crop season is going to start.
And just going through a couple images from your agweather.com website on our video feed, and you mentioned that dry pocket. You could see that
Yep.
as you kind of look at the Saturday outlook here. To your point here, you kind of got that dry pocket in the southwest, and then this big system, maybe some snow potential on the north side, severe risk for the rest of the country. It looks like it's going to be a widespread impact here this weekend, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we're bringing a whole pride of lions through one by one. It seems like one a week for the next several weeks. So I think maybe instead of that, was that cadence where what do they say? If it rains on Easter, you get 7 Sundays of rain. Well, maybe I guess what it did was we got this first event on Fat Tuesday, So I guess it's the Fat Tuesday cadence now. I don't know. I'm making that up, but it just seems like we got about one a week, and man, they're big storm systems.
How about South America? Let's talk about the latest you're seeing down there, Brazil, Argentina, etc. Give us an update for the Southern Hemisphere.
A lot of severe weather, very, very wet in Argentina over the last 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even longer than that. Didn't benefit any of the early planted stuff, but it's certainly going to benefit the middle planted crop and the late planted crop. In Brazil, the big story is how dry things have been on the eastern side of Brazil. So Bahia, Minas Gerais, getting over to Tocantins, Goiás, those areas have been very, very dry. They're going to be dry for another 7, 8, 9, 10 days, I think, very dry in that area. But then we see late in the week 2 time period moisture coming back. And then brand new model run just released last night suggests that eastern Brazil, I mean, this area that I've been concerned about drought for a while, that could punch a hole in this safrinha crop, the model just came in and soaked it. I mean, so I have to look at that and go, there's got to be some sort of a persistence bias. Something in it is not right. So I think watching this for the next 10 days is going to be critical to know if we're really going to have moisture in eastern Brazil by the time we get into April. Because if we don't, I think there's a good chance to talk about some impact on that safrinha crop. If they do, then shoot, it's going to be a big crop.
Anything final you are tracking around the world here this week when it comes to weather, Eric?
Yeah, La Nina is fading pretty quickly. In fact, if you average the ocean temperatures right in a region we call Nino 3.4, that's right in the middle of the Pacific. They have got ocean temperatures there back to average. So they're right at the 0 line on the anomaly chart. But new model data just came in, between the time we talked last, and we got 2 new models in, and they both trended drier for summer in the central US. Like they both just dropped it like a rock. And I was a bit surprised that they did that, but it again comes back to something we've been chatting about. Predictability in March for June, July, August weather is terrible. We got to get past spring to see how it's going to set up in late June and July and August. But boy, I didn't like looking at those model runs going, wow, look at the trend down in precip. If it does it again next month, then I think we've got some red flags that really need to get raised here and just talk more in depth about what this drought risk could look like. So that's my story. And I think we all just need to keep aware of the possibility of these weather issues in the United States going into the growing season of 2025.
We will continue to track it with you. Folks can stay up to date at agweather.com, ag-wx.com. Eric Snodgrass, Nutrient Ag Solutions. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Have a great week, and we will talk to you again next week.
All right. See you, Jesse.